this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to Get It Right, Texoma, with the trio, Mike Hendren, Ray McAdams, Ray Serrala over there. Thank you for joining us. How's it going, guys?
Am I lying or lying? Did I tell you about the guy's hair on Crocus? Look at that coiffed. Look at that dude's hair. That's the lead singer.
Wow. We were discussing a band right before we started this.
From the 80s, Crocus.
Crocus. Somehow I missed Crocus.
You missed Crocus?
I guess I did. I don't know. Of all the 80s bands, I missed that one somehow or another. This episode brought to you in part by Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls since 1966. Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles.com. Yeah.
Zero turn.
Zero turn.
I finally got my lawn.
Did you get to go?
Yeah.
Did
you? I got it mowed most of it, but it was still wet.
I'm mowing mine tomorrow. I'm going to try to hit this break between. Because it's supposed to rain again Thursday.
It rained Sunday. I did it on Saturday. It's like, gosh.
I know. And that Sunday, that was a total surprise.
Yeah.
We had like 2 inches of rain.
Oh, well,
Seriously, on Sunday.
I guess we
just out of nowhere.
Well, Thursday was kind of a surprise, too, when it hailed and everything.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, well.
It's also brought to you by Lollie and Pop Sweet Shop, online at lpsweet.com, and on Facebook, just look for Lollie and Pops. That's Lollie and Pops.
Yeah, look for the episode that was, I think it will have dropped tomorrow. Actually, yes. Tomorrow tomorrow from the Wednesday the 15th. Yeah. It will have dropped. So look for that pie episode. Yeah.
Today is Tuesday the 14th. Tomorrow is Wednesday the 15th.
Yes. As we
Is that how that works?
Pie episode.
Yes.
In most cases, it depends on what planet you're on and how fast you're. Never mind. Anyway, I'm not getting into a physics lesson now. Anyway.
Nobody understands anyhow.
I don't even understand.
Yeah.
I can't even spell physics. Also brought to you by MacTech Solutions, online at mactech-solutions.com, and we are recording this in the MacTech Solutions podcast studio. So.
Yes, and we're working on a new table. Might have a new table.
Oh, yeah. We're
not working on it. The table's done. We table's done.
It's over there.
Get it covered.
We got to dress it up.
Dress it up. Yes.
Yeah. We got it. We are
evolving,
ever improving.
Yes,
ever improving is what we're doing. Well, let's get into it here. A couple things to talk about. Texas Ranch Roundup is coming up July 19th and 20th here in Wichita Falls, and the tickets are on sale right now for this, and they are going fast. Even though this is still a couple of months out, the tickets sell quickly. This event fills up every single year. Texas Ranch Roundup, how long has it been around now? Like 30 years?
Long time, yeah.
Long time.
And by the way, one of the biggest reasons it's selling so quickly this year is because the headliner on Saturday night.
Casey Donahue is going to be performing.
The Texas Ranch Roundup is different than a rodeo.
Yeah.
It's working ranches. These are real ranches. Yes, there are real cowboys that still really work on day-to-day on ranches. And it is events that are more suited for ranch life.
Right.
The wild cow milking and, they have cutting horses and that sort of thing, team roping and a lot of kind of things that are more rodeos evolved from cowboy work, but these are really still highlighting the work itself.
And it is a charitable event. They do raise money for is it the North Texas Rehab Center?
I think that's correct.
And then they also, it's bragging rights. So for 1 year, whichever ranch wins, quote unquote, gets bragging rights for the year. So it's not like they take home a big trophy and there's not a lot of prize money. It's not that. It's not like, because in professional rodeo there's prize money that's won. More often than not, it costs you money to rodeo.
It's a whole different world. But this, and the nice thing about this is there's a lot of our local ranches.
Yeah.
And when I say local, it's all relative on ranch. If you kind of live in the Northeast or someplace where everything's really close and tight, you don't really understand.
Yeah.
We're kind of where West Texas begins. local means within a couple hours.
Yeah.
If it's within, Dallas is relatively local for us.
Yes.
Fort Worth is relatively local for us today. I mean, I've gone to Fort Worth. I'll go to Fort Worth just to take my kids to dinner. Yeah. Or to lunch, or to watch a movie and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. It's for us here in Texas, when you consider that you can drive for 13 hours from one end of the state to the other and you'll still be in Texas, 2 hours is local.
It's all relative.
It's all relative. So that's coming up July 19th and 20th. That's going to be at
just like Arkansas, just like Arkansas marriages, they're all relative.
And there went all 6 of our Arkansas viewers and listeners there.
I was in Arkansas for 2 years.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Northeast Arkansas, Blytheville.
Oh, Northeast Arkansas.
Northeast.
Oh, okay. Well, you were close enough to see Missouri.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Missouri. Yeah, we went up to Missouri, and at times it was. I'm trying to remember the name of the town just across the border up there. But yeah, we'd go up that way that was the place to go to on the Mississippi River when it had water in it. Or I guess that may be better now, but yeah. So anyway, that was from 85 to 87.
It does still have water. Just some places are deeper than others, you know. But anyway, also coming up, now this is a little earlier, the Wichita County Mounted Patrol Rodeo is coming up May 31 and June 1. So this is just a couple of weeks out. And this is at the Wichita County Mounted Patrol Arena on Arena Road, also known as FM 369. And this is, the Wichita County Mounted Patrol, been around for many decades. Lots of rodeos, lots of rodeo-type events and tractor pulls and all kinds of things have happened in that arena.
That's right.
And it is it's an outdoor venue as opposed to the Ranch Roundup, which will be held in an indoor venue.
It's held at the Coliseum.
That's held at the Coliseum. The Wichita County Mounted Patrol, it's an outdoor arena. And so, and for me, honestly, that's kind of how rodeo should be. It should be outside. It just feels different out there. It feels better out there. And that's going to happen again May 31st and June 1st. And what?
There was a bug.
Been a bug flying around.
He's been flying around. I had to get him.
Oh, okay. I thought he was about to punch his computer. I'm like,
Sorry, go ahead.
I know what these things cost. They don't hit that.
He's about to go anti-Apple.
He would never do that. No.
I had to grab the chance to get the bug. So.
Anyway, during the last city council meeting, the director of development, Terry Floyd, presented the councilors with information he's collected from visiting with neighbors around the Old High area. Preserving, advancing, and connecting are 3 values the committee was established upon as they hope to advance the area from Seymour Highway down to Kell and between Kemp and Brook. The 8-person committee is scheduled to meet, they've met.
They've already met.
They met May 9th. And so
the meetings are open to the public. This meeting's already happened, but it's something that we could.
This will be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, this should be an ongoing thing. So, so you can, I guess, get a hold of somebody. You could, Terry Floyd. I guess you can get a hold of Terry Floyd and find out when the next meeting's going to be.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole idea here is that they want to revitalize, re-energize this area of Wichita Falls. It's this is kind of the, I don't know if would you call it the center of the city?
It really kind of is.
I guess it is now.
It's kind of it was kind of the main. It probably was the main housing part of the city back in the 40s or so, because Old High was built. I'm sure Old High was built in the neighborhood, or the Old High was built in the neighborhood built up around it. I'm not sure which came first, obviously. So this was a bustling part of the city at one time.
Some of those houses go back to the late teens of the 1900s, and then most of them were built in the 1930s, some in the 40s, and then development there just kind of slowed in the 40s and 50s. And there probably hasn't been a whole lot of new construction in that area.
I'm sure there's not.
The 1940s.
What happens
really.
is pretty typical. Is you have people that own the home, that build the home,
right,
or a first-time buyer buy the home. They live there. At some point, they pass away or they move away, which a lot of times they'll pass away, and the kids don't stay there. The kids move out of town or go off to college or just leave or whatever.
Yeah.
And then those houses become rental properties.
Right.
And look, there's nothing wrong with people that have the rental properties, but the fact of the matter is rental properties don't tend to be kept up as well as homeowners. That's why home ownership is so important when revitalizing a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Is the more people that own their homes, because there's not only do you have the feeling of ownership in it, you also have the investment in it.
That's right.
Whereas when the rental is, I mean, and you could be somebody who's very conscientious and takes care of the rental property and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you still don't have your money invested. You don't have your skin in the game,
right?
Like you do with a home ownership.
One of my all-time favorites as a real estate agent, which I do that also, by the way. One of my all-time favorites is someone who's renting will say, "Well, I rent because I don't want to pay property taxes."
Yeah.
Newsflash. You are paying property taxes.
Sure, yeah. The homeowner's got to pay it.
It's baked into the rent, kids. Yep. It always is.
And then when you do see the increases, that's in part probably because of
it's either because
interest or insurance.
And
then, of course, the market does play a role.
That's right. So
but it's all relative.
It is. So, yes, if you rent, yes, you're paying taxes. Of course you're paying taxes. I don't care if you're renting a house or renting an apartment. It doesn't matter. Yeah. There are property taxes on that property, and you as a tenant are paying those. You're paying those taxes. It's baked into your rent.
Even on an apartment, on any when you're leasing. In fact, when you're leasing commercial property, oftentimes you'll rent in what's called triple net.
Right.
Which basically breaks out the taxes and insurance and upkeep of that's why they call it triple net. There's three components.
I thought it was a really strong Aquanet. It was somebody had the bouffant hair.
Flammable.
Like the guy for the band. He needs a triple.
The Crocus guy had some Aquanet.
He needs some triple Aquanet.
He had some triple net.
Yeah.
So anyway, they break that out, and so even though the rent, there's a flat portion for the contract length,
right?
But then they break out those because they know those can change over time,
right?
Some, like where I'm at now, they don't do that, but they include water too. Yeah. But most places, most commercial places do have that triple net. So you get to see it. Whereas if they did that with your home rental or your apartment rental, you'd probably not. In a way, it would be more transparent.
It would, but I tell you,
more complicated.
I was
going to say, just the rent is what the rent. Who cares? The fact of the matter is, it really doesn't matter. The transparency is said. I want $2,000 for the house. You either say yes or no.
Well, that's
true. It doesn't matter why they came up with it. They could have pulled it out of their ass.
And Trey made a very interesting comment about it being an investment, and it really is. I mean, when you think about it, I know some people push back on that. Well, we should treat it more. Home ownership shouldn't be treated like an investment. Well, yes, it should be treated like an investment, and here's why. Because that's the number one. It's the single largest purchase most people will ever make in their entire life is a home. Period. Yep. That's where most of your money is going to go. Number two, as you age and you get to retirement age, that home is that's your principal nest egg right there.
That's correct.
Okay? So as once you get into your 60s and your 70s and you're looking at retirement and you're looking at maybe downsizing, a lot of people, they'll sell the big 4 or 5 bedroom home. The kids are grown. The grandkids are grown, and they don't need this huge house anymore, so they'll downsize. So you sell that, and guess what? You've got all this money tied up into that, and if you've done all of your maintenance, if you haven't deferred a lot of maintenance, if you've kept it up and you've modernized and you've updated, and you've got a home that's marketable, guess what? You're probably going to make quite a bit of money.
And also I think I've always thought that home ownership was the number one way to generate wealth in America.
It is.
Long-term wealth in America. And when I say wealth, I mean, it's all moderate on wealth. You're not going to be a millionaire necessarily because you have a home.
No, but
there's some variables. It depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you notice the neighborhood is starting to decline, that's your time to move on and hopefully pull your equity that you have in that home out and put it somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Location.
By the way, and I'm going to throw this out here real quick, but we don't have time to mess with it. But at some point, I'm going to bring this up on another topic because we keep talking about property taxes. I keep hearing people talk about lower property taxes, What about lowering sales tax? As a retailer, I'm more interested in that. Personally. And now it's one of those deals that I know you get pushback. You're going to get pushback no matter where you go. But I'm more interested in lowering sales tax than I am property tax.
Okay.
Because if you have a lower sales tax, you're more competitive with people. Being a border town,
right?
Especially,
I was going to say
we're much more competitive with people across the border.
Like in Texas, it's on vehicles, it's 6.25%, right?
It's 6.25%,
right.
But that's not sales tax. So that's a whole different tax. No, it's motor vehicle tax.
Okay.
Different taxes.
But you're talking about the 8.25% that we have.
Well,
most
it's 6.25%
plus two
plus municipalities are 8.25%. So once again, it puts you at a disadvantage when you're talking about large purchases.
Yeah.
And you live on a place where there's a place in a different state, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico, that's right across the border,
right? And
their sales tax is lower by several percent.
Well,
you know. So anyhow, let's move on. But that's just an interesting. I don't hear anybody talking about lowering sales tax.
No,
everybody talk about lowering property taxes.
That is a topic we should get into at some point.
I think it is
because it does well. And taxation in Texas. I mean, we don't have income tax.
Right.
we're probably the most business friendly state in the whole country. Quite honestly.
Yeah.
Scotland Park Elementary has been in need of new playground equipment. And they've been fundraising to meet their $40,000 goal. They were $20,000 short, and the Wichita Falls Kiwanis Club presented Principal Laura Scott with a $20,000 check to get them to their goal, which I think is pretty cool.
This is awesome. This playground equipment is old now. I've heard people, and I know there's people out there that go, "Wait a minute, isn't that one of the newer schools?" Yeah. Yes, it is. It was built in the early 2000s. It was built in 2005, 2006. But the playground equipment was not new. The playground equipment was used from Huey Elementary.
Oh. So it was recycled.
Yes, because there's a whole thing there, but the price of building went up exponentially right before these buildings were built because Hurricane Katrina hit. And so these buildings, there's a lot of things had to be cut on these buildings.
Yeah.
And playground equipment was one of them. So the district made the decision to use some of the newest playground equipment that was available, but it was still older playground equipment, and reuse it.
So the building may only be 15 or 16 years old, but the playground equipment's probably closer to 30 or 30
playground
plus.
equipment is substantially older.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is over the years, it's playground equipment. It's made out of metal, and there's metal components. They rust, they wear, things wear out. And safety expectations change also.
Exactly, yeah.
So you got to kind of keep up with that as well. So that's cool. But and $40,000 sounds like a lot. But when you're talking about playground equipment for a school play yard, and the expectation is you're going to have to get at least 10 or 15 years out of it to get your money's worth out of it. It's going to be used for a good long while.
It's got to be well built. But not only that, can you imagine what the liability? How much of that? What percentage of that cost of that playground equipment is liability insurance?
Oh, gosh.
Oh. They have to carry an enormous amount of liability. I'm talking about the manufacturer of the equipment.
Yeah.
Has to carry an enormous amount of liability insurance because if one kid
got a reserve,
bumps their head, there's people always out there looking for a quick payday.
When we were in school, you remember the
monkey bars.
Remember the monkey bars, we called them, and there was one had the real tall thing that went up and curved. You go up, you climb up, and then you slide down like a fireman's pole. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many kids do we push off the top of that thing?
My favorite was the Eagle's Nest. That was the dome. Remember, it was like monkey bars, but it was a dome, and you could climb all over it. Yes. Love the Eagle's Nest. Yeah. And now we look at those as adults and go, it's not so big. Yeah.
Well, when you were 5 years old, it was huge. It was huge. All right. We're going to talk a little, we're going to get a little political here for a minute. Y'all remember John Fetterman? Don't you? Yeah, you do. So, what's it been? Has it been 2 years now? Or 4 years?
I think it's 2.
2 years, 4 years? Yeah, whatever.
Jeez.
John Fetterman.
Time flies.
So, John Fetterman, Pennsylvania, right?
Correct. Beat Oz, Dr. Oz.
Right. This has got to be Dr. Oz for a Senate seat out of Pennsylvania. Fetterman had had suffered a stroke at some point. And he was famous for showing up to hearings and press conferences wearing a hoodie.
And shorts.
And we made fun of this guy, and we found it embarrassing that, you've got all these dignitaries and these elected officials that are all standing there in suits and ties, and this guy shows up looking like he just came from some 3-on-3 basketball game or something, I mean, come on, seriously. Well, were we wrong about John Fetterman?
I'm going to say yes, because John Fetterman, now, his earlier record, he seemed like he was pretty progressive as a mayor, and seemed like this leap from a mayor of a small city to a senator for a U.S. senator was a huge jump. He was stuck in there. He was pushed in there. He was not really. To be fair, he wasn't ready. I mean, they made all kinds of modifications, and those sort of things, so he could communicate and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
he wasn't ready. But I will say, now that the guy is in there, and he has obviously recovered some from that stroke, he has been the most moderate voice, one of the most moderate voices in the Democrat Party.
Very much so.
I mean, he is against all this radical bullshit. He's against the DEI. He's against so many things, and he's coming out and he's being vocal about it too, by the way. That's one thing I appreciate about him. He's not quiet and just going along to get along, and he just really seems like he's one of the you've always looked at Kristen Sinema and the other guy who's been around for a million years in the Democrat who thought they were. I'm losing his name right now. Who's the guy who's voted with the Republicans several times, or was the holdout?
Oh, are you talking? From Virginia.
Virginia, yeah.
Oh, good grief!
I lost him anyhow, but that guy.
Yeah.
So they've always looked to those two as being kind of the moderate wing, and they're the ones who would always kind of stop the craziness and stand in the way. And they weren't going to vote for this, and the Democrats had to sometimes lower their expectations on some of their radical beliefs because otherwise it wasn't going to pass because they weren't going to get Sinema and this gentleman right here. But Fetterman really, I'll give him credit. He's standing out. He's standing up for what he believes. He seems to be much more moderate than the Democrats thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, I was wrong about it.
I think we probably Joe Manchin is
Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin's who you're thinking about. I had to look him up because it was driving me nuts.
Yeah, for some reason I
could see his face.
Yeah,
I couldn't say his name.
Remember we talked about him not too long ago because a guy he had an ass full of a guy who was running his mouth when Joe Manchin was signing stuff, and Joe Manchin stood up, bowed up.
Yeah.
And his security guy grabbed the guy and just slung him out the door. It was pretty interesting.
And Joe Manchin's not a young man.
He's not a young man, but he's also not a small man either. He's a pretty good sized guy.
He is.
He looked like he was about ready to throw down on that one.
Let me pose a question here then. Okay, in light of the fact that we now look at Fetterman as being a moderate voice in the Democratic Party, do you guys think that the Democrat Party, at least some people within the Democratic Party, are starting to realize they better turn a corner, and they better turn a corner quick?
Yeah, I don't know. Is Joe Manchin now? Is he going to run again? I know Kristen Sinema is not.
I don't think that Manchin is running again. I know there was talk. There was talk of Manchin running for president as an independent candidate.
Right.
It was teased, and then all of a sudden it just fell off the radar, like totally fell off the radar. And I think because Kennedy got into the race, that might have changed things a little bit. But Kennedy, I mean, for crying out loud, his own family has come out in support of Joe Biden.
Well, they're political stooges.
Oh, they are.
But Manchin and Sinema's districts, or Manchin and Sinema, I believe that both of those places are vulnerable for the Republicans.
They are.
If they don't run. Joe Manchin's a Democrat, but he's a very moderate Democrat. And Kristen Sinema is the same way. She's a very moderate Democrat.
Yeah.
And Arizona seems like it's turning away from the Democrat Party more and more.
Well, I think
I think there's a good chance that Sinema could be replaced with a Republican.
I think the radical fascist faction of the Democratic Party has so spoiled the ability of Democrats to bring in new voters and to hold on to the voters they've had. When you look at the landscape right now versus 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, things have changed. I think there are people within the Democratic Party that, and I can see these conversations happening. Guys, we better back off some stuff and we better change some stuff. We are losing people. We are losing support. And they are losing support. They've gone so far off the rails on some things that they are losing their own supporters.
Well, and I can't believe that they still have the Jewish vote. I mean, how in the hell, if you're Jewish, are you still voting Democrat?
I've been asking that question for years.
Yeah, you're right. But even now, especially now.
I know.
But agreed. It's been weird for years.
Yeah.
But, and not only that, the black vote. I mean, if I was a black person, I think I would be offended that the Democrat National Party thinks that they own me.
Yes.
And they own my vote.
And that's how they feel about it.
That's how they act.
That's how
they act like that.
Well, just minority voters as a whole, as far as the Democrat Party is concerned, yeah, they own the minority voter. And minorities of every race, every creed, everything, it should always support them. What an absolutely hideous thing to think.
It's actually a racist thought.
It is racist.
It's a racist thought to think that I'm going to have somebody simply because of the color of their skin. Yeah. It's the same shit as Joe Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Or Hillary Clinton telling everybody she carried hot sauce in her damn purse. First off, by the way, not all black people eat hot sauce. It's like anything else. Not all black people are people. The word people is in there. It's the first word. They're human beings. They're individuals just like everybody else. And if you don't think that you're politely racist or you have these racist thoughts to think that you have to help people because of the color of their skin or that sort of thing is ridiculous.
Well, what they've done for decades, y'all, is they have told these folks, you are helpless without us.
Passive racism. I remember I had a whole show about it. We had a whole show about it.
You cannot do anything without us.
No, it's ridiculous.
It is impossible. And that's a ridiculous, totally bigoted notion to tell people that you can't do this, you can't be successful in anything in your life unless you vote for us. We're the only ones that are going to help you. Well, I'll tell you what, if you've been voting Democrat, and you fall into a category, a minority category, or a particular economic category that has traditionally supported the Democratic Party, ask yourself a question. Am I any better off today than I was 20 years ago? Or if you're over 60 and you're still, am I any better off than I was 30 or 40 years ago? Well, the answer clearly is no, you're not. You're not. The war on poverty started with Lyndon Johnson. And guess what? It's still going on. There's no intention to win that war.
Well, not only that, Lyndon Johnson famously, and I don't believe there's ever been there's no video or audio footage of this, but
there was an eyewitness account.
Not only one eyewitness account, there's been multiple eyewitness accounts that says, I will get those N-words voting for us for 100 years.
Yeah.
Voting Democrat for 100 years.
And the thing about it is
you talk about a racist thing to say.
Well, the boldness of that. I mean, and he said it I think he actually said it in front of a reporter.
Oh, multiple reporters. He didn't say it in a back room under lock and key. He said it. I believe he was on Air Force One.
I believe the story is he was on Air Force One when he made that statement. Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is to say such a thing. Well, first of all, most of the things that come out of these Democrats' mouths, like the Hillary Clinton comments and all that.
Ugh.
If a Republican said that, they would immediately seize upon that as a racist statement and they would run with it. I mean, they would run with it. But yet, here we are. I mean, they say it, Joe Biden, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Seriously? Well, remember back when he was still, I don't think he had yet been selected as Obama's running mate. And remember some reporter was asking him about Obama, and he made these comments about he's this clean, articulate black guy. What the hell?
What does that mean, Joe? Yeah, explain yourself.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's one of those. And then if you ever catch yourself, talking to somebody, and you start talking in a way that's a stereotypical way, so because you think it makes them feel better, it's called passive racism.
Yeah,
it really is. Now, I don't. This and that doesn't mean you're a racist. So let's be careful. There's a high bar for me to call somebody a racist. But that's passive racism when you're buying into stereotypes and you feel like it's helping your cause.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well,
but John Fetterman, we were wrong about John. I was wrong about John Fetterman, I will say.
Okay. Yeah.
He's not. I made fun of them jump starting him by the bolts in his neck every morning and stuff like that, but anyhow, he's turned out to be much more moderate than I expected from him to be. Yeah. And much more.
Well, he's still just to let you know, I looked him up and his voting record, and he's still heavily leans left. He's just not at the top of the list.
Well, they're all going to vote that way. I mean, they're trying to be in lockstep with their party.
You guys can't see it on the screen. We're not quite there yet, but on the computer screen here, it's an MSNBC headline here from what's the date line on this?
This looks fairly recent because it did mention Frank Underwood, which would be from.
Scroll back down there.
Yeah,
the headline reads, and I quote: "Lyndon Johnson was a civil rights hero, but also a racist."
Apparently he labeled the 1957 Civil Rights Act as the N-word bill. And this is even, like I said, this is from.
Dear God.
Yeah, and then of course following on, but yeah, he.
Why do they still laud this guy as some kind of a hero? Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why? He was as corrupt a politician as anybody that's ever been elected.
Yeah. Well,
telling you.
Listen to if you want to look to people that look to free thinkers, no matter what color they are. Who don't want to be put in a box, who don't want to be said, I have to vote this way or I have to vote this way. Look at free thinkers.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Get It Right Texoma. I'm Mike Hendren. This is Terry McAdams. That's Trey Serrala. It's brought to you in part by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls since 1966. EddieHillsFunCycles.com. MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com, the website. Anything Apple related, repairs or products, everything but the iPhone. You can buy everything Apple here except the iPhone.
But we fix them.
And ironically, you can't buy apples here.
No.
Darn.
But I think maybe a little produce stand wouldn't be.
Well, we have some in our bike out here. There's little apples in the basket, and there are teeth marks.
Okay, well, for a price. Also brought to you by Lollie and Pop Sweet Shop, lpsweet.com. On Facebook as well, Lollie and Pop's Sweet Shop. Lollie is spelled Lollie, by the way. Anyway, until next time, guys, y'all take care. We will see you down the road.